Hey folks, today I want to look at a small expansion for Zombicide and Zombicide Season 2 Prison Outbreak, and that is Zombie Dogz. Now this is Dogz Set Collection Box of Zombies set number 5, which I think they're just naming all their different sets. I don't think there's going to be that many boxes of dogs. But anyways, this adds a new threat to the survivors, and that is, of course, Zombie Dogz, which you are going to... It comes with all the little miniatures that you need in here, and also the cards that you're going to shuffle into the alerts zombie deck as you play. Now, I've mentioned before that I really hate how in zombie movies and zombie TV shows, of which I guess there's only one, that there's somewhere I just know that all the dogs on the planet are just dead, and it's very, very, very depressing. Somehow it actually gives me some comfort to know that some of them just turned into zombies like the rest of us. But anyways, is this worth buying when it hits shelves? Is it going to change your Zombicide game in a fun and fundamental way? Let's take a look. So the simplest way to explain the Zombie Dogz expansion is that it simply adds a new type of zombie to the mix that happens to look like dogs. Now, here are the sculpts for them, and they're pretty cool. They're as cool as all the other ones, I suppose. But the one complaint that I have is, and much like the Dog Companions expansion, is that the bases pop off. Now, it's not that they're really broken, but it's just like they're not really glued in there. I'm not really sure why they did that, except for maybe to keep it from actually snapping off during transit or when you're moving the box around. But it is kind of annoying. None of the other figures that I've ever seen in Zombicide do that, just the dogs. Anyways, they are normal. They do behave like normal zombies in most respects, and in fact, you get a little set of cards that you're going to shuffle into the zombie deck. So for instance here, if the threat level is at blue and you draw this card, you're going to have to put out a zombie dog at that spawn zone. If it's at orange, you're going to get 4 of them. The other 2 spots are just regular walkers. So these will function just like normal zombie cards as well. The difference between the Zombie Dogz is that they are much, much more difficult. They are basically like super runners. Now, you might remember that the runner zombies in both Zombicide Season 1 and in Season 2 essentially have 2 activations instead of the normal 1 activation that most of the other zombie types have. The dogs get 3 activations. That means that once all zombies activate once, they and the runners get to do another activation, and then the dogs get to go again with a 3rd activation. This can be incredibly lethal because it theoretically means that with on a single zombie activation turn, 1 dog can run up and deal 2 wounds to a survivor. You need to be extremely careful when you see these out, especially if they're in close proximity. And the worst part about it, arguably, is the fact that because they're so small and fast and agile, they are targeted last in priority order. So when you're firing a ranged weapon into a zone, survivors first, a bunch of other different kinds of zombies, runners, and then zombie dogs. So they're very dangerous, very lethal. It's definitely a way to add more both variety and challenge to your Zombicide game. In a very strange way, the Zombie Dogz, even though it's sort of a small expansion, actually changes the game more drastically than any of the other small individual parts of the expansions that have been released for Zombicide so far. And it's not because they do anything that drastically different, except for the fact that they get 3 actions. Now, you would think, okay, runners get 2. What, just having another action makes that big of a difference? Yes. These things are hard. They are so hard. We drew a card once when we had we'd already been in the scenario for a very long time, and then we drew the card where like 3 dogs came out at the same time. Maybe it was 4. Oh my lord. They were really close to us. They immediately become the most dangerous target on the board, except for the fact that because they're so fast and small, in the new priority order chart of firing ranged weapons, they're at the very bottom. Which means that if they spawn with a lot of other zombies, good luck. You need to take out all those other zombies first. And that's even more of a problem if you have stuff like fatties and abominations and the new berserker zombies who are going to take all those hits first that need to be killed in a certain way, which you may not be able to do. These things are hard. And, you know, I've actually complained about the difficulty of Zombicide. Not that it was too hard, but that many of the scenarios are a little bit too easy once you figure out the right pattern of what to do. This changes everything. And there's not that many of the cards. I mean, you're not going to run into zombie dogs all the time. You might go through a scenario and only run into them once, or if you're lucky, not at all. And then I really mean if you're lucky, because you need to be lucky to live against these things. But I do appreciate the extra little bit of oomph to the game. It's kind of stretching the boundaries of what this game actually is. This is definitely... Zombicide always prided itself on just being more of a comic book version of a zombie apocalypse rather than what The Walking Dead or even the Dawn of the Dead movie is. And this definitely takes that to the next level. This is getting more and more cartoonish as we go. But hey, I kind of like that about the game. If you can just suspend realism and you like your games more like Resident Evil, actually, would be a more apt description, then this is a neat little expansion to have. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. If you thought Zombicide was too hard, you probably don't want to throw these in, but I think it's neat. So, my name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, reminding you to get out there and game every day, in and every way. Take care.